show all, disable all, or enable all. Now we're going to actually leave them up to be visible on the menu, but just disabled. So I'm going to disable all, and that will put them all in grey basically. And then we want to enable Find Customer, so right click and say enable, and then if I go down and I want everything in the credit control folder to be available, so I'll enable that. So now we can see that everything else is disabled apart from those options. Okay, so then we can save and close out of that. Okay, and then that takes us back to the previous screen, and I want to save and close out of that to save our user role. So now if I refresh the screen, we'll see that we've got a credit control user role. Now to be able to see what effect that user role is going to have, we now need to create a user account to use that user role. So the next thing is user accounts. You can see ones we've got already set up in there. And I'm going to click the new user account button on the toolbar. And the new user account is going to be called credit control. Okay, and I can fill in address details for the user and things like that if need be. I'm going to give it a password of credit control. And I'm going to give it a user role of credit control. Okay, so that's how we assign the user onto the user role basically. So if I save and close on my new user, it takes a little while to apply the changes. Okay, so if I refresh the list now, I'll see I've now got a credit control user. So to see the credit control menu, I'm going to log in as credit control, so I'm going to go sign out, sign back in, though. And there we can see I've only got the one module down here, and I can only get into Find Customer and into these options here, which is show Find Customer. So that's what I'm limited to basically. If I try and use any of these shortcut buttons to create sales orders, quotes, invoices and things like, excuse me, things like that, then it won't let me in there. So it's basically locked it down, and I can go in and see age, debt and things like that. So there we can see I can only see what's actually on the menu. I can't click on any of these other things. Okay, so that's how we restrict people's access. So if I sign out of that and I want to go back in as admin, and what we're going to do is add an email account for the admin user, which is the one we're signed in as. So to do that, I'm going to go into user accounts, I'm going to double click on the admin user, okay, and then I'm going to click the email tab, and there's no email accounts in here at the moment, but we've got icons at the top for new email account, and if there was one already we can edit it in here as well. I'm going to click the new one. We can only do POP3 email accounts in Interprise at the moment, so in here I can put some basic information, basically basic POP3 information. So I'll just put some fictitious information in here. We not going to actually be connecting to anything to try and send this, so it's not too important what exactly we put in here. We've also got more settings option here as well, where we can put in if it requires an outgoing server, we can basically log on. So maybe we need also to provide logon details for our outgoing server as well. And in the advanced tab, we can also say what ports it's going to be doing the send and receive on, and things like that. Okay, so if I finish that, I've now got an email account showing in here, and if I go back to the general tab, my default email account is now showing as the admin user. So if I save and close on that, and then I can go and look at the email account, which I can do from this button in the top right hand corner of Interprise. Go into mail, I've then got my inbox, outbox and the other folders basically. Just going to go and have a quick look at the system preferences, which is down in setup and system preference. Now basically we also send faxes via our email client. Now we use Interfax, which is why fax.tc is populated in this field, but basically if you use a sort of electronic fax provider, they will give you what this little extension needs to be here. And all that happens is we send a fax via the email client, and it just sends it to fax number at fax.tc. That then goes to Interfax. They look at what fax number precedes the at fax.tc, and they'll then fax it out using their bank of faxes out to Interfax. So basically all our faxing is handled within the Interprise client. So it saves having a fax modem and tying up a phone line and everything else. Okay, next thing we're going to do is create a team. So on here under system user, we've got team, and we've already got some teams predefined in there, but we're going to add a new one, so new team button, and our new team is going to be credit control. I'm also going to give it a team code rather than let it be generated by the system. Okay, now what I can then do is say who's going to be a member of the credit control team. I only want the credit control user to be a member of that team. And what we can also do, if I just save that, we've got an email account here. If I click that button, it will then, I can then add an email account onto the team. So basically we have personal emails, email accounts, so when we're sending emails out of Interprise, and also a team email that will come from credit control at company name. Okay, the very last thing that we're going to do is look at adding some custom fields onto our database. Now it's very, very important that you make sure that your date and time on your machine is set to the current date and time, because we set it back for previous exercises when we were doing some